Hello, comrades! Welcome to the February 2010 edition on the condition of the United Socialist States of America. Let us start with that premier Democrat, Nancy Pelosi from San Francisco, who happens to be the Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi has at her disposal Air Force jets to privately ferry her around the country as she sees fit. Really? She's also used those jets operated by the United States Air Force at taxpayers' expense to transport her children and her grandchildren without any congressional representation on board. In other words, she's using the United States Air Force at taxpayers' expense, those huge jets, to transport, chauffeur, and babysit her children and her grandchildren. When them there Democrats were the minority party, and the Republicans were the majority party in Congress, the Democrats were holding up judicial nominations from President Bush. Well, the Republicans threatened to use something called 51 votes, reconciliation, or it's called the nuclear option. And them Democrats were squealing like the stuffed pigs that they are, complaining that it was unconstitutional, our founding fathers were turning in their grave, and they were ruining the senatorial process. Look in the description. There is a link. You click on it, and there will come up a video showing all the leadership of them there Democrats complaining about using 51 votes for judicial nominations. Now that them there Democrats, hypocrites, are the majority party in Congress and the Republicans are the minority party, then the Democrats can't get the health care legislation passed by 60 votes because they are threatening to use 51 votes. The nuclear option, reconciliation. There's no problem with it now for them to use it. The Republicans did not use it because the Republicans acquiesced after all that squealing about those pigs and the Democratic Party. So now it's okay for the Democrats to use it. Why? Because they're the majority party, and their goose-stepping lackeys in the news media are not going to show you the comparison of the two and the hypocrisy on them there, Democrats, in reference to reconciliation, the nuclear option, and 51 votes. President Barack Obama, Democrat, has been in office just a little over a year. And during that time of approximately 1 year, the casualties, U.S. casualties, in Afghanistan total approximately 1/3 of all U.S. casualties in Afghanistan over the past 8 years during the Bush administration. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, there was the surge recently, so naturally there's going to be more casualties. And that's understandable. Well, how come the Democrats aren't complaining about these casualties as they did for the 8 years when President Bush was in office? How come the news media is not insisting on showing photographs of coffins draped in U.S. flags as they did during the Bush administration? And why are the casualties so high now? Now, true, there's a surge. I understand that. But if you were to examine the rules of engagement, we are basically tying the hands of U.S. servicemen, much like we did in Vietnam, if not worse, in this situation. So it's not so much the surge that's causing these increased casualties. It's the rules of engagement placed upon this administration because Democrats fight war and they play patty fingers. They want to use the Marquis of Queensberry rules, while the enemy does not play patty fingers and they do not use the Marquis of Queensberry rules. You do not and you cannot make nice with terrorists. These Democrats refuse to learn that lesson. That's why whenever the security of the United States is in question and in peril How does anyone in good consciousness, patriotism, and for the care of your own gosh darn family vote for a Democrat? I'm confused. Now, you all know during the 8 years when President Bush was in the White House, all the lunatics, the Democrats, and the leftists in this country complained about the Patriot Act. Yeah, it's unconstitutional. You are taking my rights away via the Patriot Act, according to these lunatics. So now they elect President Barack Obama, Democrat. And you know what he does with the Patriot Act? He signs an executive order extending, not exterminating, extending several provisions of the Patriot Act. Once again, let's listen to the news media complain. I didn't hear anything. Once again, let's listen to the Democrats complain. I'm sure there's something wrong with my hearing. How about the leftists and the liberals? I'm going to get my ears checked because I didn't hear a gosh darn thing. All right, comrades, we'll see you. God bless you. God bless the United Socialist States of America. And God bless the nation you happen to be. See ya.
We are springing to the thar for 300,000 more, shouting the battle cry of freedom, and we'll fill the vacant ranks of our brothers.